Welcome to a ninja world. That's tacky, isn't it? This is the new Kawasaki ZX-10R. It's the 2021 model. The ZX-10R costs £15,800, and if you want the fancy pants race homologation ZX-10RR, because more R's are always better, that's 23, 24. It's a lot of money, and most of them are sold out anyway, so try not to worry too much about that one. What it is one of the nicest, smoothest, easiest to ride litre sports bikes out there. That's a bold claim, and here's why. So what do you get for your 16-ish grand? Well, you get fancy pants, Showa external gas cartridge forks, which look trick as. If you grew up in the era of late 90s, early 2000s, watching World Superbikes, forks like that always give me a little funny feeling in my tummy. You get an equally fancy Showa shock, and you get 203 PS, which is German for horsepower. It actually is, Pferdstark, which is horsepower. I don't know why I know that. Hopefully I'm wrong. Someone will correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below. You get 207 kilos of weight, which on paper, not amazing. Not something that stands out in this class, but bear with me because that's just one number that falls foul. The rest of the bike is pure litre sports bike goodness. You've got a bidirectional quick shifter, adjustable traction control, adjustable riding modes with different throttle responses, and of course you get adjustable engine braking control as well. All this is controlled through actually a really small minimalist dash, and that brings me on to something that Kawasaki say they've tried to focus on with this bike. Look, it's a balloon. The man in charge of this bike at KHI, Kawasaki Heavy Industries, his big thing is minimalism and keeping a bike pure. To that end, they've tried to keep the ZX-10R free from gizmos and gadgets that don't have any place on a super sports bike. I'm quite amused to find, therefore, that it's got cruise control, which they immediately popped a hole in their own principle. But the point is, they don't want stuff on there that adds weight and doesn't make the bike faster around the track. Their argument was that cruise control doesn't make it really any heavier. We'll give them that one. When you work on the ZX-10, when you first ride it, the rider modes are actually very simple. You've got rain, road, sport, and then you've got 4 rider programmable modes where you can adjust the engine power, the engine response, and you can adjust the traction control level from off to 5. That's it. You can then go and interrogate further in the dash and change engine brake control, quick shifters, things like that, but the actual simple change the rider modes bit is kept really free from options and clutter. It's basically how much traction control do you want and how much power do you want. And I've got to say, that's a bit of a breath of fresh air. I've ridden a lot of these new superbikes and it's incredible the technology and the detail and the stuff you can do on the dash, but sometimes all you just want to do is get on the damn thing and ride it. You don't want to spend 45 minutes fiddling with buttons, so it's down to you. It's your personal preference. Do you want something that you can spend hours tinkering with and rubbing your thighs and getting all nerdy on, or do you just want a bike that you can get on and ride the damn thing? There's a few other things around the Kawasaki that are simple changes. They're not big tech changes that make you go, cool, wow, that's moving technology onwards. They're just back to basics, and the bike is all the better for it. So first and foremost is the screen. It's 40mm higher. When you look at the bike from the side, it looks more like, if you look at the side profile of an Isle of Man TT Superstock bike, they've always got quite a high raked up screen so the rider can tuck in behind it and get loads of wind protection. The fatter you are, the bigger the benefit that gives you. Likewise, the foot pegs. They've raised the foot pegs up, I think 10mm they said, but the foot pegs are higher than they were on the previous one. again, it just means you spend less time with your boots dragging on the floor in the turns. The amusing flip side to that is I think still to meet their design standards and their Kawasaki's testing procedures, they put really, really long hero blobs on them. So they're like, I don't know, 5 centimeters long. And I did actually get the end of the pegs down quite a few times, sometimes before my boot touched down. At that point, you're carrying quite a lot of lean angle, so it's not like it held me back, but it was interesting for me that normally my boots are hitting the floor all the time and the peg never touches down. This bike was the other way around, but the riding position felt great. Ditto the handlebars, they've gone to a flatter, more motocross style of bar rather than tucking them right in like a GP bike. Again, it's just something that they wanted from the World Superbike lot, and it just makes the bike a bit nicer, a bit easier to ride, and you don't feel like you're kind of curling up and adjusting to it on track. So those are the dead simple, kind of boring changes really, but they do help and they do make the bike feel nicer and easier to ride. As far as the chassis goes, they've lengthened the swinging arm, they have changed the offset on the fork, they've stiffened the rear spring, they've softened the fork, they've tried to make the bike a bit more over the front end so it turns and steers a bit sharper. And at the front, I mean, it's an unmistakable tribute rip-off copy of Kawasaki's H2 and H2R bikes. The headlights are really small and neat, big central ram air intake, and believe it or not, the new ZX-10R does have wings. It's like the de rigueur compulsory, you've got to have wings if you're going to make a superbike these days. Kawasaki have tucked theirs inboard, so there's kind of ram air tunnels through the front that act as wings and give you downforce. They reckon 17% more downforce than the old model. I'm not going to stand here and say I felt the 17% increase in downforce, but it is wonderfully fast and stable through the third, fourth and fifth gear corners, probably because of wings. Let's say it was. So the main story on the engine is, as with everything we're going through at the moment, and I always gloss over it massively, it's that it's 203 horsepower and it's maintained that and is now Euro 5 compliant. It's a boring subject, but actually I've spoken to a few people that work at manufacturers at industry level and are engineering and trying to get these bikes through Euro 5 standards. It's really easy for us to just go, oh yeah, there's no more power, but to make the same power and meet these new strict emissions and homologation requirements is no mean feat. Well done, grown-up engineers. Boo to boring Euro regs, but it's the way things are going. So, same power, cleaner and better for the environment. Happy days. Now, there are a few other little detail changes around the bike, but I'm not going to sit here and list them all out. I've listed the important ones, and I've bored myself to tears already. Let's get out and ride the damn thing. That's what's important. I have to say, in all honesty, it feels eerily calm riding one of these around a racetrack. It doesn't feel the same to me as riding the BMW or the Ducati, which are, you know, aggressive bikes. They charge off the throttle. They're constantly tugging at your hands and pulling away from you. This feels almost serene, easy compared to it. I genuinely think this is the easiest of all the Lita sports bikes to go out and push yourself as a rider. I don't want to gamble and try and guess which one's actually fastest, but in terms of just getting on a bike, using as much of it as you as a rider can and enjoying pushing yourself for a faster lap, this thing is actually one of the best. It's so smooth, it's so easy. I can't believe I'm saying that about a 200 horsepower bike. It's high praise. If you want to just enjoy putting in fast laps on track, for me it's kind of between this and the GSX-R. The two kind of old school stalwarts of the Lita bike world. The superbikes we grew up loving, Ninjas and Gixxers. And for me, I love that now they feel as good as ever, and this Kawasaki is an absolutely sublime thing to ride. We've been here at Bedford Autodrome today. It's not a track I've done many laps of. I've been here in a car once. It feels a lot smaller when you're whizzing around on one of these. But within a few laps, I was happy pushing and pushing and pushing and comfortable to push the front into turns, to push it over the bumps and a few of the awkward apexes. It's a bike that does fill you with confidence. And I really like that, especially on a 200 horsepower bike. And let's face it, I've missed the shrill scream of a 4-cylinder engine ringing off the limiter as you scream towards the next corner. There's something about that V4s and cross-plane crank engines are stunning, but yeah, I grew up listening to those noises echoing around the woods at Brands Hatch, and it still makes me feel a bit excited and a bit scared of a bike when it makes that evil scream that they do. Criticisms that I had today on track. A couple. One, there's no track mode on the ABS. There's no ability to switch the rear ABS off. I feel like I'm saying this a lot at the moment. Solution to that? Pull the fuse out, a light comes on the dash, and happily everything else carried on working. So your speedo, the traction control, all the normal bike systems works, but we just managed to disable the ABS. And the reason I wanted to do that is because I wanted to push that front end harder. With these Bridgestone slicks on, it was awesome to see just how hard you could push into the turns. Other complaints I've had today, it feels to me like it lacks mid-range compared to the Beamer and the Panigale. I wouldn't want to put a stopwatch on that though, because I suspect that this is stealthily quick, and where the Panigale and the Beamer are using that mid-range to frighten you, this is just getting on with the business of going forward. Did I have any other complaints about the ZX-10? I don't think I did. I really liked it. Oh, it was lovely. I got nothing bad to say about you. Okay, we're going to be picky. The 3-spoke wheels look like they came off the 1995 GSXR 750. Is that mean? Yeah, maybe. And I think that's the only kind of criticism for me is in the company of bikes like I keep going on about them, but bikes like the BMW, the Aprilia, the Ducati, the Kawasaki just doesn't look and feel quite as special. When you get into the details, it is, you know, it's got a really nice show of forks, it's got the big Brembo brakes. It does everything, but it doesn't ever quite feel as exotic. But right now, I would trade all of that for how easy it is to push really hard on track. If I was going to go and race super stocks or British Championship or just try and be as fast as possible on the track day, honestly, this bike would be the one I'd go to because I think it would give me the confidence to push myself to my limits, more so than any of the others. The ZX-10 is a easy to ride bike that makes you feel comfortable straight away. I don't think it's the most exciting, I don't think it's the most aggressive. Frankly, I haven't got a clue which is going to be quick around a track, not without putting a stopwatch on it riding them all on the same day. But I genuinely think the ZX-10R is the easiest bike to ride hard and fast and use as much of it as your rider skill will allow. And at the end of the day, for track days especially, I think that's an awesome thing.